How's everyone doing tonight? We're so excited to be here. We are almost through the Thanksgiving season, people. On Thursday, we were gorging on turkey. On Friday, we were buying giant cheap TVs for some reason. On Saturday, we were listening to Mariah Carey's Christmas album over and over and over unapologetically, because it's allowed now. And then yesterday, we bought some stuff on the internet, and today is Giving Tuesday. Yeah. So welcome, and thank you so much for coming to Jed's Evening of Storytelling, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming. And as you know, storytelling is a great way to reduce stigma and for us to get to know one another. And it's also because we share all these experiences. And tonight you're going to hear so many great stories and music. So it's going to be fantastic. I'm SHAWN HOLLENBACH, and I'm going to let you know what's going on tonight. And John McPhee is going to come up a little bit later to tell you a little bit more. And the show's going to be about an hour. And then afterwards, we can head out to the reception to get to know each other a little bit better, which is really fun. And tonight, guys, this is being live streamed on Jed Foundation social media. So check it out on Facebook and Twitter. And guys, we're telling our stories up here on stage tonight, but we want to hear your stories as well. So guys, make sure that you are posting your stories using hashtag JedStorytellers and also using hashtag Giving Tuesday. So, are you guys excited for the show? I am so excited to introduce this first performer. She is amazing. You've seen her in Julie Taymor's Across the Universe. You've also seen her on Broadway's Love Janice. Put your hands together for Dana Fuchs.
This is my music partner who puts all the music to my words many years now, John Diamond. So this song is a brand new song on a new album, but I have quite a history now with the Jed Foundation. I met John McPhee. He was at one of my shows years ago when I was talking about a song I had written for my sister who ended her life. And cut to years later, I've been a proud Jed ambassador, which just means I talk about these struggles and mental health awareness all over the world when I'm performing. And I did take a lot of time off before this new album, having lost my sister and then two brothers and both of my parents in a very short span of time, and most of it was mental illness, addiction, and yes, suicide too. So each loss, I thought, how will I ever get on stage again? And for me, the relationship with Jed has been so profound and so inspiring for what I go out and do night after night all over the country and all over the world, really. And this song is about that. It's called Ready to Rise. And it's simply about how sharing our life experiences and our struggles with, you know, mental health awareness and all of the things we go through in life. If we just talk about it and we get help and we get support, we can really rise up. This is called Ready to Rise. Standing alone with the world at my side, reaching for help, but my hands were tied. Trying to run, I couldn't feel my own feet. My eyes were wide open, but I was asleep. Now I've gone and said my goodbyes. I've laughed and I've learned, I've ached and I've cried. But I won't lie here no more with the sun in my eyes. I'm tired of losing and I'm ready to rise. I won't cry anymore, feeling buried alive. I'm tired of losing, I'm ready to rise, yeah. Life's moving so fast now, I can barely breathe. Seeing the past staring back at me. I don't wanna let go, but I can't hold on. The pain I didn't know, I've been running from. Now I'm ready to rise. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, now I've gone and I've said my goodbyes. Well, I've laughed and I've left. I've inked and I've cried. Wow. I won't lie in the mud with the sun in my eyes. I'm tired of losing, ready to run. I won't cry anymore. I've been buried alive, trying to lose it. I'm ready to rise. I'm tired of losing, and I'm ready to rise. So tired of losing, and I'm ready to rise. So tired of losing, ready to rise. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to be here. And I guess now I'm to introduce the man that got me here, John McPhee.
All right, how are we doing? Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Sean. So as Sean said, tonight's Giving Tuesday. And for us, we're here to give thanks to you, to our supporters and our partners. And we're also here to have some fun, to socialize, and to celebrate. So those of you who have attended our events before know that we like to have fun, and we hope you're going to join us at the reception after the show. Tonight is about sharing stories, because when we share stories, we create understanding and empathy. We reduce prejudice and shame, and we let each other know that we're not alone. And that's why the Jed Foundation focuses on training and helping people to tell their stories about mental health challenges, about help seeking, hope, and recovery. And that's really the heart of our storytelling program. We do this program, we've run this program now for about 4 or 5 years, and we do it with the Moth Community Program. And the Moth is a great partner, and we want to express our gratitude to them for their partnership in this effort. Tonight, you're going to hear from several storytellers, and they're among dozens that we've had the good fortune of being able to work with over these years. Tonight, it is our great honor, and we're thrilled that the first storyteller is the First Lady of New York City, Chirlane McCray. So just last week, we were with the First Lady at a high school in Queens, and we were launching a new and groundbreaking mental health awareness campaign for the students of New York City called There's Help All Around You. And you may have seen the posters in the lobby. Did you have a chance to look at those? Okay. Those are examples, or those are product from that campaign. And if we could, let's bring up a couple of images from the campaign right here. Now tell me, who does not relate to that stress monster? Right? So this campaign is targeting students and parents, and it's appearing in all 1,800 New York City schools, which means that it's reaching 1.1 million students. It's letting students know that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to ask and seek help. And it's helping guide those students so that they know where to go in their schools for that help. It's been our honor at Jed to work on this campaign with the First Lady, with Thrive NYC, the New York City Department of Education, the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York, and Gray Health Group, which is an advertising firm who created and worked on the campaign pro bono, for which we're extremely grateful. Our hope is that this campaign, There's Help All Around You will serve as a model for other school districts around the country. And it launched a week ago, and we've already heard from the school districts in Phoenix, Arizona, and Miami-Dade, Florida, about their desire to get involved. This campaign is just one example of the First Lady's commitment to the mental health of New Yorkers. Named one of Time Magazine's 50 most influential people in healthcare for 2008, and the 2018, and the 2018 recipient of the Jed Foundation's Mental Health Visionary Award, Chirlane McCray created Thrive NYC, the most comprehensive mental health plan of any city or state in the nation. And it's because of her vision and the work of Thrive NYC that every New York City school has mental health supports for its students, something that's been put in place over the last 3 years under her vision. And because that infrastructure is there now, the time is right, and we could launch a campaign such as There's Help All Around You, now that there is help all around the students of New York City. Yeah, that's worth. The First Lady also spearheads the city's Thrive Coalition, which is a group of leaders from more than 200 municipalities from all 50 states who are working together for advocating for a more integrated and better funded behavioral health system, one of our greatest public health and health needs in our country. She is the chair of the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, working on critical issues such as mental health, youth employment, and immigration. She also launched and leads the NYC Unity Project, a citywide effort to make sure LGBTQ young people in New York City are safe, supported, and healthy. She serves as co-chair of the Commission on Gender Equity and co-leads the Domestic Violence Task Force. And in 2015, with her signature, New York City became the first city in the country to join the United Nations Women's Safe Cities Global Initiative. Please join me in welcoming the First Lady of New York City, Chirlane McCray.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I said good evening. Good evening. We're going to have some fun tonight. This is just the beginning. And I'm going to be brief because, I am not a trained storyteller. I'm not. I'm just here to, help things get started. So, good evening. Thank you so much, John. John, he's the man who got me here tonight. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for all your kind words and partnership with Jed, which has been just amazing. And I hope that, we continue working together because there's so much to do. Now, all those things he said may sound good, but let me tell you, we've got a long way to go, not just in New York City, but across the country. The hunger for mental health services, information is so great. And yeah, we're all in this. We all got to be in it together to really help people get where they want to be. So what a fabulous night this is going to be because of all the things that we can do to help our communities heal. Few are more significant and few are more powerful than sharing our own stories. When we drum up the courage and take the time to share our personal journeys, it makes it easier for others to share their stories and easier for them to seek help. So Alex, SHAWN, Yashi, Zeke, thank you for your willingness to share tonight. You're going to hear from them in just a little while. To be honest about the day-to-day stresses we experience and the challenges of coping with trauma can be so difficult, but it is so important, especially now. Things are getting better, but they're not better enough. In our city, there are too many people who are in emotional distress, burdened with untreated mental illness or substance use disorders, and far too many people are struggling alone. Now, back in the day, because I was born in the 50s, I'll confess. Back in the day, people did have to struggle alone because that was the culture we lived in. There was no place to turn to easily. But I had extraordinary parents who worked incredibly hard to provide a good life for me and my siblings, but I also believe that they both suffered from undiagnosed depression. They are often just so sad and withdrawn. And I didn't know what was going on because I was a kid, and we don't understand what's happening around us all the time, but children feel everything that's happening. And there was so much going on with them underneath the surface. And it was difficult not to have anyone to talk to. I wasn't allowed to invite anyone over. We'd have dinners at night and without any conversation at all, night after night, and holidays with very little joy. But we were expected to stay home, of course. And maybe most frustrating of all was not being able to talk with them about the behaviors around me that I just couldn't understand. Because diseases like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, alcoholism, and suicide are all part of my extended family's health story. But no one talked about any of it. They talked around it. Of course, when I was growing up, connecting to care was far more difficult than it is now. But today, we have the science. We do. We have the science. We have solutions. We have the understanding. And there are too many families that still don't know where to turn for help or how to talk about these challenges. So I want to ask you all a question. How many of you have been touched by mental illness or substance misuse? Please raise your hand. I'm looking to see if every hand is raised. I believe almost every hand is raised. If your hand's not raised, I like to say you don't know your friends or your family well enough. It's just a fact. Because we're all touched by this. You saw all those hands, right? We're in good company with each other. We are all part of this progress that needs to be made. We're all touched by these diseases that are treatable. And that's why we created Thrive NYC, to change the culture around mental health and to improve access to care for families like mine and like yours. We've talked to New Yorkers all across the city, and New Yorkers from all parts of life. And so many people have stories like mine, and probably like yours too. So we are bringing services and care to people where they live, where they work, where they learn, and where they worship. And we are using storytelling to dispel misconceptions about mental illness and addiction. All throughout the city, we're having these conversations because we truly believe that story by story, we can work to dismantle the stigma that has caused so many people to suffer in silence. Faith leaders are tackling stigma in their services by bringing their congregations together in open, non-judgmental discussions about how they can care for one another. Black-led service organizations like the sororities and the fraternities are educating their members about mental health and tackling stigma directly by hosting facilitated conversations on mental health in safe spaces. We call some of these conversations, "I hear you, brother." And people really respond to them. They come out, something I did not realize would happen. We've had standing room only at some of these conversations. And Latino elected officials and community organizations are doing the same with Thrive conversations within the Latinx community. That's the kind of grassroots activity we need, because we know people aren't going to go someplace where they don't feel welcome, go someplace where there's no one that they can trust, or someone who doesn't speak their language. We need everyone to be part of this. Most people don't have the appropriate language, the appropriate vocabulary or language to use when talking about mental health, or know how to identify the symptoms when something's not going right. And that's why we also offer a course in mental health first aid to New Yorkers for free. Now, did you all know that? We offer this course for free. That means any one of you New Yorkers can sign up. Just go to nyc.gov/MHFA and sign up and take the course right away. We want as many New Yorkers as possible to take this course and learn. And we need to keep continuing having these kind of conversations so we can all just let go of pain, support one another, and get to the joy. There's so much joy to be had. So I just want to conclude by thanking you all for being part of this conversation tonight. I hope you are deeply moved by the stories you will hear tonight, and help us make sure that all New Yorkers know that there's always hope and there's always help. So thank you all again. And please help me welcome our first storyteller, Alex.
3.5 years ago, I sat frozen, palms sweating, heart beating out of my chest. Red pixels started to appear on the screen in front of me to tell me that I'd failed. I failed an exam that would have given me the highest pedigree in my profession. Now, this wasn't the first time that I'd failed, but all the others I could tuck behind this wall that I'd built so that the world would only see this caricature of perfection, where masks and merits were my truth. But this put a crack in this fortress that I built so that I protected myself from my own reality. And it was at that point that that crack caused my wall to come tumbling down, and all I was left with was my painful, uncomfortable reality that for me was just too much to bear. I don't remember much over the next few months, but I can't forget the scars, the broken relationships that ultimately led me to the doorstep of an intensive program to help treat my depression, anxiety, and trauma. Now, it was a few weeks in, and group session was about to begin. I was sitting in a circle with about 12 strangers, not as many as tonight, and our group counselor walks in and asks us to take out a sheet of paper. Write a letter of gratitude to yourself, she asked of us. Now, no surprise, but my mask was back on. And soon, before I knew it, we started going around the circle, sharing snippets of what we had written. By the time that it got to me, I looked down at my page. Not a word. Not one word of gratitude that I had for myself. Now, in that moment of silence, I sank into this plush purple couch. The counselor asked again for me to share something I had written. Now, in that moment of overwhelming anxiety, my face turned snow white. She could sense that something was wrong. So instead, she asked me to put a word on how I was feeling in that moment. Now, I don't know what it was about this single moment, but for the first time, and I don't remember how long, I was able to put a word on the pain that defined my life. And it was shame. Shame that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't pretty enough. Shame that I wasn't strong enough to fight these demons that I had inside of me, to fight off a man from forcing himself on me. Shame that I needed medication to function, and that I used food to comfort. Shame for this person that I had become, which was a sliver of who I was. Now, in that moment, I came tumbling down to the ground, crying, mascara running down my face. The mask was off. A peer came over and wrapped her arms around me and told me that I had never looked more beautiful. Now, a few years later, here I am. And what I've learned is that pain needs to be felt. and that vulnerability is the greatest weapon against shame. And that by living my truth, that's how I'm going to get the highest score. Thank you.
It's third grade. I'm 10 years old. I'm excited. Things are new. But something's still the same. My French teacher just given me an assignment. That assignment just required a parent's signature. Real simple. Not simple enough that it was late and I just couldn't get it in on time. I had forgotten, I like to play video games. Something was going on. There was a disconnect somewhere. But I got my dad to sign it, and I brought it into my teacher. And because it was a day late, she said she wouldn't accept it. But then she looked at the paper just a little closer, and she noticed that it was my dad who signed it. And she screamed to the class, "Yes! I got your dad's autograph!" And it was then in that moment that I was defeated. I was small. I didn't exist. Because my last name, Thomas, overshadowed who I was, Joshua Thomas. Now, growing up in Detroit, Michigan, my father was Isaiah Thomas, NBA Hall of Famer, legend, won 2 championships. There's streets named after him. Hell, people name their children after him. But me wasn't being seen. But I love my dad. I love my family. But that shadow was so big that when we finally moved here to New York, I really didn't exist. I was alone. I'd moved about 3 times. I didn't have friends. I was just starting now my junior year of high school. The only thing that I had of my own was I could play basketball. And I was pretty good. I wasn't as good as him, but I was good. And I did beat him once. And I dunked on him my sophomore year, and he said, "I'm never playing you again." So when I moved to New York, I knew I could do that. So I go to tryouts, and I'd always, played varsity, and I made the team. That was easy. Now, the hard part was my chorus teacher came up to me. I was singing in the choir. I always could sing, I was good. I could sing, but I never really thought about it seriously. It was just something I like to do. I sing in the shower. I sing down the street. It's easy. Now, my teacher, she said, "I think you should audition for the school musical." And I looked at her and I said, "I ain't auditioning for no musical. What you talking about?" She said, "Well, I think you'd be pretty good." And I said, maybe I'll be a tree. Maybe, I'll try out, I'll be a tree. So I try out. And I sing, I do my thing, and they give me the lead role. And I'm looking at the sheet of paper on the choir office, and I'm like, that has to be a mistake. They meant to put, Jamie or something. That's not me. But they're really serious. They believe in me. For one of the first times, somebody is looking at me and saying, "You exist. I want to work with you." So I went to my high school basketball coach and I told him, I tried out for the musical and I think I want to do this. And he said, "The musical? You play basketball. That's what you do." And I said, "Well, I want to do this." So I quit the team. And I went on, from rehearsal, the tech rehearsal, and I'm practicing and I'm singing. And it gets to the day of our first performance. And I go out and I'm singing, and I see my family sitting right where you are, right in the front row. And I sing my song. And my dad starts clapping. And you know you're not supposed to clap in a musical, like right in the middle, but he starts clapping. That's my boy, yeah, Joshua! And after the show, he grabbed me and he said, "You were great, you were amazing." And I knew then that everybody had seen me, Joshua Thomas. Thank you.
Another relapse. Another failure. Another bipolar, psychotic, manic break. And the bees were back. The bees, the racing thoughts. See, I had bees, in the past. There's about, I've had thousands of bees. But this time, because there had been many episodes before, this time there were trillions of bees, and they were coursing all through my body, out of all my limbs. I can remember I was in the mental health facility, California, on my knees in the nurse's station, right there, begging, "Please, will somebody give me meds that will work? I just need some sanity. Please, give me meds that will work." I wasn't asking for much. I wasn't ambitious. I didn't have a tall order of things I wanted. I wasn't looking for happiness. I just didn't want to have to kill myself. That was it. And as I sat there, I started to think to myself, God, why did you create me with a brain like this? Why do I have these thoughts and these delusions thinking people are talking about me, satellites are following me? Why did I just jump in my neighbor's pool naked? Why does this keep happening? Well, needless to say, they didn't take me in. I was turned away. And they said to come back in 2 weeks, and they would put me with a doctor. I had had other doctors before, expensive doctors. This time, I did this on my own. And even they told me they couldn't take me. So I went home and I sat there and I said to myself, what the hell am I going to do for the next 2 weeks? I can't think in my heart. And so I went to that place, that place where we go. Usually we think about our childhood, and I went back to that time when I was a little girl, and I was taught about prayer. And it was difficult at first because when I thought of God in that moment, I didn't want a condemning, angry, fearful God that was going to strike me with lightning and do something if I kind of wanted to do my own thing sometimes, if I didn't do things his way. I needed a loving God. And so I became a little ambitious. Maybe I needed some love. So anyways, I did it. I went and I prayed. And I sat there and I said, God, I know there's love out there. I've seen it. The trees. You created the trees just for me and just for us so we can breathe. You created the trees. The sun shines every single day, whether I'm good or do something not right, or rather, we're out here on earth shooting at each other. The sun every single morning comes up unconditionally. Babies are born and mothers give birth. I see the beauty. I've seen love. Can you fit me in? Can I be a part of that? And in that moment, and I wasn't expecting this, my heart started to calm down. I started to feel a little bit of peace, and like I said, that was not on the radar because, I thought, the miracle happens later. It doesn't happen in the same time. If there's a miracle. But in that moment, I started to feel like this. I was praying, and then just peace, and then the squeezing, the stabbing, that pain that goes in your heart when you're depressed, that anguish started to mend. It started to kind of just mend together. And so, I didn't have any faith. I wasn't like, again, I didn't expect anything, but I started praying all the time because, like I said, I had 2 weeks. I didn't know what I was going to do. And in those moments, that was what was giving me a little bit of sanity. And so I would pray sometimes 3-4 hours a day. I mean, I take food breaks, I'd sleep, but, someone would have thought I was crazy, I guess, in the way people say that word. And maybe I was, but I tell you, it was the most natural thing that ever happened to me. And so finally, I got through that. My appointment came, and I was put with this petite Persian lady with the thickest accent. And I like to always say the most beautiful, thick accent. Her name was Dr. Barg. And Dr. Barg did something that no other doctor had done. She asked me questions, so many questions about how I felt. And then my medications and what have I not taken? What have I taken? And then, have you been taking what I've just given you? I said, well, sometimes she says, Yashi, I can't help you. If you don't take your meds, I don't know what to get right. We got to work together. And that kind of made sense. I did, that made sense. And so we worked. And she got me on the medicines that I'm on today. And within 8 to 10 weeks, I felt better than I had in 8 to 10 years, I promise you, just by being on the right meds. Severe bipolar here, okay? Severe. God sent me an angel. He sent me an absolute angel. And her name, like I said, is Dr. Barg. Thank you so much. You gave me my life back. You gave me back so that I can be Yashi. Thank you.
Such powerful stories, everyone. I mean, give it up for Alex, Yashi, and Zeke. Oh my gosh, incredible. And also, New York City's commitment to mental health is kind of amazing. So Chirlane McCray, please, thank you so much for that. So now's the time in the show where I'm going to tell my story. So for those of you who don't know, I am from Central Pennsylvania. Central Pennsylvania is very rural. My father is a truck driver. My twin brother is a race car driver and also electrician. He drives 4-cylinder stock cars. I don't know what that means, but hey, that's what he tells me. And so growing up in Central Pennsylvania, very rural area, being the kid that I just didn't really fit in. I was, instead of, breaking stuff and driving cars, I was into Greek mythology and office supplies. I don't know why, but I just was. So what I did is I created my own little world where I could feel like I actually fit in. And that world I created was called Unicorn Island. And if you could please switch it over. Here we go. So just to prove my obsession with unicorns as a kid, so this is my twin brother and my 10th birthday. I'm the one with the Rehoboth Beach shirt up there on the left with the pink arrow. I don't know if you can see it, but on the cake, on this side, my brother had a Phillies baseball player, and on my side was a unicorn laying under a rainbow. So I drew 85 unicorns that were very themed as a child to sort of get out of my world. So I want you to meet Rainbow Maker Unicorn. As you can see here, she lives in the Rainbow Castell. And then on the back, I had a little code, and so it would tell you what her power was. It was to make color. Her name was Rainbow Maker. She's number 5 in the set, and her power comes from color, and she's a girl. And I have this 4-letter code at the bottom, LRMO. I have no idea what that means to this day. So when I first started, they were kind of simple. Like, this is Love a Lot Unicorn. She says, what happened to the color? And the reason why I put that is because I didn't feel like coloring in the rest of it. This one right here, this is the professor. He's doing some real hard math. 8 plus 4 equals 12. 8 minus 4 equals 4. Not very smart on Unicorn Island. And the next one, this is Papa Unicorn. Now, he has a side narrative. He's saying, I'm not old, but his subtext is, yes, I am. And his side narrative is that he was once called Firestarter, but now Papa. It was very complicated, Unicorn Island, as a child. And this is Aid Unicorn at the hospital, spelled T-O-L. And it says, some credit to my sister, Kristen Hollenbach, who helped me come up with this one because she wanted to be a nurse. So this is Beauticorn. She says, nah, pink isn't good. And she has a little beauty kit in the corner to make her beautiful. And then now they're starting to get a little bit more complicated. I was really getting myself and sort of throwing myself into the world. Some of the kids at school started hearing about my unicorn obsession, which made me more obsessed because I felt like the bullying was starting to increase. But this is a Cashier and Shopper Unicorn. They're just like us. And this is a Cool Unicorn. He's so cool, he's ripping his homework with his magic. This is Fashion Unicorn, and she is definitely power clashing with the red and pink, and she has an Ariana Grande side pony. So this is seasonal. This is Candy Cane Unicorn, and her power brings Christmas spirit. We're on Christmas? No. This is a Teacher Unicorn, and her power is to educate young minds. This is Good Grades Unicorn, and actually this is based off of me, kind of. So the teacher asks a question, and she has the answer right away. She says 50,667,080, and she goes, correct, and then the kids are bullying her in the back saying smarty pants. So good grades, I'm with you. This is WGAL Uni. This is my local Channel 8 was WGAL in Harrisburg. There's a lot of things going on in Unicorn Island, a lot of news. There's a lot of things happening. And of course, there's Private Eye Unicorn. A lot of crime, a lot of crime. So as I said earlier, I was obsessed with office supplies, so I kept an entire roster of all my unicorns. As you can see, I was just so into this. I was so obsessed. It was crazy. So my family, I tried to reach out to them because I wanted to, they were all into NASCAR and sports, so I started making sports themes unicorns. So this is Surfing Unicorn. Isn't he great? This is Skateboard Unicorn. Then we have Football Unicorn. And apparently on Unicorn Island, there is a 60-yard line. No clue. Not a clue. But there's also the uni leaders in the corner because my dad used to think they were hot. So this next one here actually made, I wasn't invited to a birthday party and my brother got to go, which was really, really sad. And so I just kept drawing more of these unicorns. And I thought that this, because they were on the baseball team, that I thought it could totally, win them over a bit. So this is pitcher and batter unicorn, which is probably the gayest one of all. And then as I'm in my small little town of Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania, I never left. So I went deeper into my world, knowing the bullying was getting worse, and I started creating unicorns that were international. So this is, as you see, English unicorn who's saying Cheerio. This right here is Russian unicorn with his beard. And of course, we have French unicorn who's saying, ah, oui, oui. Yeah, so at this point, the bullying was getting so bad that actually the kids weren't just calling me names anymore. They started to threaten me physically. And then I ran away from home when I was 11 years old. And I didn't really know where to go. So I started walking 9 miles away from my house. And the police officer stopped me. And he's like, where are you going? I was like, the YMCA. You say, why are you going there? It's like, because you can get yourself clean and have a good meal and do whatever you feel. The YMCA. And he asked me why I was going. And I said, it's because the kids hate me and pick on me in school. And he ended up taking me back to my house, back into my own paradigm, my own reality, where again, just had to keep creating my own little world. So then I decided I need more friends with a little bit more power in my arsenal. So I started making celebrity ones. So this is Elvis Unicorn. He's the king. This is Michael Jack Corn. And of course, the most powerful unicorn of all, Oprah Wincorn. So, eventually I did grow up, and I did end up going to college into the big city. And spoiler alert, surprise, I came out of the closet. and then I ended up meeting my own unicorn myself. It's now my husband, Chip. And we got engaged at the Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany. So it's just my own magical engagement that it all seemed to come full circle. So thank you guys.
Okay, how we doing? Right? Having fun? Sure. All right, we're in the home stretch. Let's give another round of applause for all of our storytellers. Please take a look at your program and read everybody's bio, okay? And then you can get to know and meet all the storytellers after the program. I just want to take a few minutes and talk about what we do at Jed and give you an update of what we've been up to over the last year. So obviously many of you know us, you're our donors and our supporters and our partners, and some of you are new to the Jed Foundation. We're a charity. Our focus is on protecting emotional health and preventing suicide for teens and young adults. That's people aged 13 to 30. And when you look at where people in this country are who are 13 to 30, they're in school. Most of them are actually, or the biggest number, are in higher education, where there's 21 million teens and young adults. Then they're in high school, there's another 16 million. And they're all pretty much on their devices and online. And so what we do is that's where we meet them. We meet them through educational campaigns that are focused on educating about mental health and emotional distress. What is mental health? How should you think about that? How do you take care of your own mental health, self-care? The importance of seeking help if you're struggling, and then how to notice if somebody else is struggling, how to notice if you're struggling yourself, how to notice if somebody else is struggling, and how do you help them? We also work in high schools. This is relatively new work around what can high school students and their families and high school communities do to better prepare students emotionally for life after high school. And what does that look like? What are the independent living skills that a graduating high school senior should have? what literacy and understanding of mental health and substance abuse issues should they have, what social emotional learning, and then specifically around transition issues, whether they're going to college or to adult life directly from high school. It's important that they are educated about those transition issues. What does it mean to turn 18? What does that mean for information? What's going to flow back to your family? What isn't? How do you control that? You know, how do you educate yourself about that? What if you have a positive history of a mental health issue prior to graduating from high school? How do you think about care? You know, is your insurance set? If you're moving away from home, what does that care team look like? How do you set that up? So we do a lot of work in the high school setting around those issues. And as I said, that's relatively new work. It's scaling fast. And then in higher education, we work with colleges and universities pretty intensely around the things that they can be doing to create what we like to call a mental health safety net, meaning how do you promote mental health among the students, a culture of caring, and reduce risks for substance abuse and suicide. And there are now 250 colleges under 4-year agreements with the Jed Foundation where we help them put together a leadership team to oversee this work, and we specifically we actually measure, we deploy a survey to measure student attitudes and behaviors on that campus towards mental health, campus climate, help seeking. We evaluate all the programs, policies, and systems around developing life skills, creating connectedness and a sense of belonging, interventions to identify students who might be at risk, the treatment services, the policies. You get the idea, it's pretty intensive. And we help the schools put a strategic plan in place, and then we work with them over 4 years while they work towards strengthening the safety net that they have in place. This past year, so when we were here last November to today, we've added about 50 or 60 schools representing 600,000 more students to that program since we last met, and we continue to grow our capacity to scale that program. Now, I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive on our educational campaigns. For those of you who were here last year, we showed you a preview of a new campaign called Seize the Awkward. And some of you remember, I see some nodding heads. I want to show it to you again in a moment and give you an update on it. But this campaign is a partnership between the Jed Foundation, Ad Council, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And Ad Council and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, our partners, are here with us tonight. So we did research over a couple of years looking at the question of, specifically looking at 16 to 24-year-olds, and what does the ecosystem around a 16 to 24-year-old look like when one of them is in distress? Do they tell their friends? Do their friends know about it? And we learned that almost everybody in that age group has been in a situation where they know a friend is in trouble. And so then the question becomes, what do they do about it? Well, they care deeply. And the importance of being a good friend and caring for others is really ingrained in young people today. And they're willing to talk about mental health. They don't carry the same sort of shame and prejudice in the way that earlier generations did. And those are all positives. But there's still many barriers to helping a friend, and there's many barriers to going and reaching out to maybe a trusted adult and say, I'm really worried about my friend. And those barriers are uncertainty about what to do, fear, embarrassment, and not wanting to betray friend identity and what it means to be a loyal and good friend. And so we wanted to specifically address this issue. And so we did a lot of research with young people around how can we create a movement where friends don't let friends suffer in silence. Friends lean in and say, hey, are you okay? In a way, an analogy is friends don't let friends drive drunk, right? That's not a preachy kind of finger-wagging campaign. That's a campaign that says a good friend is going to make sure that that other friend doesn't get behind the wheel of a car. And so we created with our partners Seize the Awkward, and we launched it in January. And I want to just run one of the PSAs so we can all see it and then comment on it some more.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl? You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. Seize the awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
So that's the main video, but there are many other videos and videos that go deeper into the content and how do you have these conversations. And we launched this in January. The videos have been seen 15 million times and growing fast. We launched it as a digital campaign and now it's starting to go broadcast. But the most exciting part of this is that we've been tracking attitudes and behaviors and actions of teenagers and young adults in the country nationally and those that have been exposed to the campaign. And so in 6 months, teens and young adults that have been exposed to this campaign report that they feel more equipped to help a friend. They feel more comfortable asking a friend if they're okay. And they also report in higher numbers that they've taken the action of asking a friend they're worried about if they're okay. So we know the campaign is working. We're at whatever we are 9 months in, and this is a very big focus as we go into next year, which is to continue to scale this effort, continue to invest in it, and really with the underlying concept, which is about help giving and asking other people if they're okay, and it's really something I think we can all take away. It's awkward, seize the awkward, and help a friend. So thank you, because your support made this possible. The partners in the room that are working on this made this possible, and our goal tonight is to say thanks for that. So we're getting close to wrapping up. I'm going to ask Dana Fuchs to come back up.
A powerful night, and again, so honored to be here, and really grateful for these storytellers. And this next song actually was a little bit of an accident. I was about to go to Memphis. I had 2 days before I was leaving, and I went to, just last year, a final share of Jed Storytellers, having been moth trained. And I just went to sit and listen and support, and I was so blown away by the courage that you guys all have to get up and do this, and I was so moved by the stories and the histories of everyone. And the next day, we just threw this song together based on that moment, and it's called Fight My Way Back to Life. Seize the awkward. I held my back against the wall, too scared to stand up and take a fall, trying with all my might to get back up and fight my way back to life. I thought I'd bought a world of change, but I was locked up in shiny chains, trying with all my might to break free that night and fight my way back to life. I was climbing up a mountain I never knew I made, running from the only place I ever should have stayed. And I've got no time left to waste. I gotta fight my way back to life. Then came the voices in my head, and I knew they hoped me left for dead. Tried with all my might to shut them down this time and fight my way back to life. I was climbing up a mountain I never knew I made, running from the only place I ever I gotta fight my way back to life. No one could ever keep me together. No one's to blame for all of my shame. I hope I never have to remember all of the love I threw away. Thought I'd taken my last breath, but I had to choke back all I had left. I'm trying with all my might to live through one more night and fight my way back to life. I'm trying with all my might to live through one more night and fight my way back to life. Gotta fight my way back to life. I'm gonna fight my way back to life. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jed.
So one more round of applause for everyone you heard tonight.